Welcome to my streaming. So, what are we going to talk about today? It's how to get your best idea. And my method, the method that I have created for myself. So, I am Remy. We say Remy in French. And I'm trying to access my live stream there. Okay. So, and my slide over there. Sorry for my voice. Okay, so how to get your best idea. And what kind of idea I'm talking about is hey, what? Okay. So what kind of idea? Great, great idea. In English, you say aha moment. Um, and it's more like a solution to a problem, like a structural problem, logical problem, and design problem. And those aha moment, I managed to find a way um, by knowing about some kind of phenomenon that our body produce. So here in an interview with Dmitry Mendeleev, the man who created the periodic table of elements, he said he was talking about how he got no he were asked about a dream he had that led to creating the uh, periodic table, and he says that to the interviewer that he didn't get the aha moment right away, like like what the interviewer heard about the story, and since he but what I want to get across here is that it's not something that you get right away. You need to do it many times. It's it's often the issue with that is that people think it's a fast way to get something, but it's rather a hard discipline. And the veracity of this interview, the veracity of the dream of Mendeleev is discussed, and that discussed is is something that is not, but that's not important. I will go along with, since Mendeleev didn't disagree with the interviewer, I will guess that the dream was real. So, in my experience, how I came across with that what is called the hypnagogic state. I came across it the first time hearing about Einstein having had the dream of the general relativity in a dream, and there are many versions of that story, but I never find uh, viable source, but except one. Um, um, the only source that I found about this story is the closest to be a real is in the biography of his colleague from his colleague. I will maybe talk about it later, but that was the first time I heard about the phenomenon, and I lived it myself. I I had I was narcoleptic, so I sometimes I fell asleep while standing up, while waiting for the bus, while I was working. So I went often in the hypnagogic state. That is the state as described here, uh, defined by Alfred Maury in 1848, is the state between waking, waking and sleeping states. You will find, oh, there is a mistake in my slide. You will find a good documentary about, especially the episode 2 of Mind Explained on Netflix. The episode 2 is The Dreams, and it covers a lot about the scientific um, research and a lot about it. And the Dormio device that I will talk about uh, later. So, as I said, there was several cases for Einstein that you might read, but none of them are really reliable. You might find make more thorough research than me and find the veracity, but the only one that I find what was his colleague Dimitri, who talks about Einstein saying he had a vision of a vision that led to the discovery, the hypothesis of it's not an hypothesis, but the general relativity. So I will leave the sources in the description if you want more about it. And from there, I started searching about more cases and their reliability, because I lived it. So I don't like to say something that I can back up. So I did some search to be sure what I was living through, uh, to be sure if it was real, not just me. So there is Rene Descartes, who is known for having, I think he wrote it in his memoir, but I'm not sure. He had three dreams, and uh, those dreams changed the courses of his life, and especially the third dream, where he questioned reality after that dream. Uh, the source in the description later. Carl Jung, um, he wrote the Red Book. He wrote the Red Book. He induced himself in psychosis because he had psychotic passion. He wanted to know how it felt to be psychotic. So he induced himself in psychosis and wrote the Red Book. I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't have a good memory, but you can find the source later on. So he said that the Red Book had precognition of the World War One that didn't was not yet a thing at that time. And later on in an interview, he said that through his patient's dream, he foresaw the rise of Nazis, of the Nazi. So I found that interesting. So I decided to show you to you. And next slide, there is Paul McCartney. This one about the song Yesterday, dreamt the song and wrote it when he woke up. There is this weird story about Hergé en français, in French. He had recurring nightmares, and the only way he found to make his nightmares go away is to write Tintin au Tibet, uh, Tintin in Tibet. I think it's in English. And then after this comic book, he didn't have any nightmares, and people think it's because it's all white, and maybe he didn't have a lot of work to do on it, so maybe it was relaxing for him. And then Nikola Tesla, in his autobiography, My Invention, he talks about his own techniques for visualization, which is some kind of hypnagogic. It's not maybe not a dream state or something, but I put it there because it was close enough for the subject. If if you are interested in knowing more about it. And then there is Beethoven. Um, he had the creative process that are propice to hypnagogic state. Maybe not. There is not a story about him having a creation in his dream, but he had a creative process that is close enough to be hypnagogic. Thomas Edison, uh, he has a story that is repeated many times about holding marbles and letting himself fall asleep, and the marble hit hit something metallic and make noise to wake him up. And people say he had idea his invention that way, but I didn't find any reliable sources. Maybe I didn't search far enough, but this one is recurrent. Uh, this is a list of other creator, inventor, artists that with their invention or creation that they had in dreams. So you can look it up. I will leave the sources in the description later. Um, so let's see if I can spot a special case in that list. Frankenstein, Twilight, Misery. It's mostly dreams. They had some of them. It's not dreams like Survival of the Fittest by Alfred Russel Wallace. He had a fever for several days, and during this fever he had the idea of the survival of the fittest, and he called um, sorry, I have a blank, but the guy who co-wrote the survival of the fittest, um, Whitebeard, very popular scientist. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And the rest, no, there is a quote there that my head is hiding. I'll try to move it away. So just a little quote that fit in the subject. Oh, well, if you can read it, I think it's in the source too. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so this list is a source that I didn't find uh, or were less reliable, but they worth not they worth something. It's just I like to know what is not sure, um, and this I don't know what to say about them. There are some that are just I'm just moving this away. Um, like I said, Dimitri, I'm not sure. He didn't. He didn't say to the interviewer that the dream was false, but he said that it does not come like he said it does. It did not. It's not like being paid for words because journalists were paid by the number of words. So he's like he's a bit a jerk towards the journalist more than denying the dream. Frederick, oh, yes, I didn't find source very reliable, but you can try if you want, if you are interested in that subject. Um, Next slide. So those are people who um, did some exercise or activities that are prone to uh, activating the hypnagogic state, and I will talk about what is it more in detail later. But if you know someone in that list, you can. I will put the source too. I have the source for all of them, and go check out their exercise, which are prone to a creative idea. And those are the research. Some of the research. There are probably more research on the subject. Um, Neuroscience of creativity is a study field, uh, especially focused on that. Oh, I forgot to translate this line. So in this study field, they talk about the default mode network. This default mode network is a neural network that is active when we are not focusing on something specific. Like when we walk, we are not doing something precise. We are walking, and our head is going a bit like when we fall asleep. It's very similar to when we are hypnotized or we fall asleep. So there is they made some specific studies, and they used a device that is called Dormio that is talked about in the Netflix documentary I talked about in the previous slide, and other studies. I have the DOY address in the source that you will find in the description, and others very similar, always in the same kind of hypnagogic studies with the University of Lübeck. I think it's a German university who did uh, other kind of studies on people dreaming, making. I think this one is they make. There is one study they make the participant do math, I think, and some participants have sleep for 8 hours and something like that, and they see that there is a difference. There is the theory of hypofrontality. Um, it's when we do exercise. This one they study people doing exercise and how it's helping them. Uh, and I think that I found something reliable with the exercise, doing walks that creative people often do. They do long walks, exercise that are repetitive, that leads into a hypnotic state. So that's it for this slide. Oh, this one I put the DOI, so you can look for it for yourself. Uh, there is there the Dormio device. They made a study when they created the Dormio device, and further studies with it, as you can see with the MIT and Paris Brain Institute did another study with. It's all the same kind of study where they have group of people with sleep deprivation, sometimes none of nothing at all, sometimes dreaming for 8 hours, and they do activities, and uh, they they see that there is something going on, but there is not a ton of studies on the subject. Um, they noticed, you can see the last study in small um, people with narcolepsy. They tend to be more creative, and I experienced it for myself. So it's just something to make you put you in the to make you consider that this is not because for a long time people thought that there were a lot of analytical. Oh, I think I will need to make a pause right now. I will come back maybe in few minutes because there will be noises. So please bear with me. Well, I will try to do it anyway. So so that's a reason I need to put you in the context that this was for a long time a subject of debate, and people only had anecdotal stories about it. But more and more, the studies, like the one I showed you, they noticed that there is something. And for myself. I lived it, I experienced it. So I prefer to have this back, this thing backing me up a little bit. So I used it many times. I used it most of the time because, especially because I was used to it when I was narcoleptic, and now I don't fall asleep. I'm fine. Lost weight, and it I healed. So I try to keep it. I try to keep that that access to the hypnagogic state, uh, even though I can't fall asleep as easily as before. So I decided to create steps or methods to get into that state as fast as possible, and I will give you those tricks. So the brain is, you probably heard it, neuroplasticity of the brain. This The brain is a bit like a muscle, so that when you think about something, the more you think about it, the more the structure, the neural structure is widened, the more it grows, and they talk about sometimes like neural pathways or neural highways. And when you become addictive to something, your brain grows into an area. The more you think about something, the more it becomes a huge muscle and get easily to a point to another in your head. So it's important to have your idea clear, in the sense that um, you need to have try to avoid dark and gloomy idea, because uh, you will create a pathway, and you will be addicted to this pathway, and it will only grow like a muscle. And if you don't nourish that pathway, it will shrink and become useless and not used by yourself. And it's important to be clear with that before trying to go into the hypnagogic state, trying to do my method, because if you go with the gloomy idea all the time, you will stop. You won't go further, because you will it creates a vicious circle, in the sense that you try to, let's give an example. You try to go into the hypnagogic state, and right away it won't work right away, and you will abandon your idea. Would make you say, it's not good, it's bullshit. Or you will think, I can't have a good idea, I'm bad, I'm not made for this, I'm blah blah blah, anything. um, all those idea, uh, you need to have. It's like a pity. Uh, how do we say? It's like something you need to have, like uh, need to study something. You need to have. We say préalable in French. You need to have it before you start. It meaning that you need to have the right pathway, the right mindset, and it's not something that you don't have. I still have some. It's like the brain is like a spark. Sometimes something lights up and you have little control except to say conduct the cars in the autoroute. You only have the choice to say I won't allow more thoughts in that route. So by doing this, you make sure that when you start, you won't abandon right at the first try. So how to calm your thoughts? So there are many techniques, many you can create your own techniques. There are the hummingbee breath in India or Indian culture. Bra, I don't know how to pronounce it. Bra Mari Pranayama, and this is the the um, um or there is the focus on the breathing exercise, or the sitting and forgetting, meaning that you think about nothing. Uh, what I do for myself, I mix them, or I try. Sometimes I try to do something else, try to find something new. But what really helped me was fasting or diet, because when you fast, uh, especially when you're addicted to food, you start seeing your thoughts popping. So those exercises are made for that. They are made uh, for that, maybe not made for that, but I I use those techniques. I present you those possibilities because they can help to notice when an idea uh, appears for the first time in your head, uh, and that way, when you see an idea coming up, you can direct it um, faster. Because if you don't see it coming up, you think it's you. You think it comes from you in some kind of way, and you play the role. You play the role of the idea. When you notice it, you can say, "Okay, no, you, this idea can go away," or yes. So I think it's not like trying to force it away. It's more like a transformation of the idea, maybe more like writing it down, doing something else with it rather than engaging in acting it. Because I don't think forcing to shut up something new is healthy. It needs to be expressed in some kind of way. So I doing exercise like this, I noticed that emotion, thoughts, and emotion are interdependent. So they are not really the same in the way that you might have an emotion and it's not caused by the words in your mind, and vice versa. Um, Emotion can be present with the absence of inner monologue. Um, and I noticed that emotion and of fear and emotion of love are very similar, as you can see if you in the video. What do you feel when you see this? Oops. How do you feel when you see this? Um, and the little kids, when you are in front of your crush, isn't similar to you? I guess yes. I guess you will say yes. Maybe some people will say no. So you probably have seen this diagram or drawing about the feelings, and they say like the what I'm focused on right now is the second column. So in the second column, for me, maybe the people who did this graph, this data, maybe they said, think about love. Where do you feel love? And they think about the relationship, and you can see the spot in the genitals. But what I think about more is generic love, like loving an object or loving anything, an object, a person, not specifically sexual. So you can see fear above and love below. They are very similar to me. Uh, Sometimes fears will more likely go in the hand and in the feet, and I will feel like shaking. But love will do this too sometimes. Um, I don't. I'm not sure any other difference. It's sure is love feels more comfortable. Um, so this is sure, and the chemical we produce are not exactly the same. Like fear will produce adrenaline, uh, norepinephrine. I don't know how to pronounce it. Norepinephrine, and love oxytocin, endorphin, and what love produces is more calming. So I would, if you have to choose between those two emotion to calm your emotion, because the slide was about how to calm your emotion, I would say just think you're either in fear, but just to recall the same emotion. But if you, it sure is not ideal to fear. Ideally, you will think of being in love because of the secretion of the hormone, those hormones. Uh, so my theory is that maybe it's a protection. When we fear, our body make us feel in love in some way, in some kind of protection to calm the process with adrenaline, or I don't know. It's just a theory. So that's it for this slide. I hope if okay, my mic is working. Okay, next. Where my computer is far away. Okay, is it this the next slide? Yes, it is. Okay, so this I hope next time I will have a movable camera or movable monitoring. Okay, so I presented many historical cases of people doing walks and paths and repetitive activity earlier in the list. So the difference between hypnagogic state and repetitive activities it's very slight. It's very. The thing is that the long walk and the repetitive activity will maybe help at first. Like if you go take a bath or go in a ride in a train or something before trying to meditate to your into your wait a minute. So I will just mute the microphone. Okay, so okay, I was pointing out the difference between the two, and since the long walks is more like an introduction, you won't fall asleep. It's it prepares you into a state that helps, and sometimes the idea you get during your long walks, your path, will be more like a leading idea, like a like what you want to do next, what is the next step in your project, what you want to do in life, what it's all the big plans. It's often more like the use of the long wall will help with the big plans, and the hypnagogic state, or the N1 state as it is called, it will help more like fine details, uh, precise idea, precise solution. Um, I think, yeah, that's it. There is a preference, but what I do for myself is that I prefer long walks and baths, but I will do long walk every day and meditation always one. Like I don't do like a long walk just to have one idea and one meditation to have. I do both all the time. So I think that maybe you are not as you will not be as focused as me. Maybe more, maybe less. But if you want to try it, I would say do the repetitive task first, like a long walk, and later do your exercise, your meditation, hypnagogic meditation. And that's the good way to induce yourself, prepare yourself to fall asleep. Okay, so next slide. Okay, this is recurring in programming. When you program all day long, you're coding all day long, you get stuck on an issue or a bug, and then you go away, you go take a walk, or you go sleeping, and it's pop. You have the solution, and I'm not the only one having experienced this. Um, so okay, I'm not sure that will just move my camera like this. Uh, I'm trying to remember because I translated in French and in English, and I don't remember what this was. Yes, I think I covered pretty well that this is not me. Okay, so my method is a 3 step. It's just to make the transition easier when you tr- try to find the sweet spot, when you the sweet spot, the exact moment when you fall asleep, and that's what I practice for a few years now. So my method is to make it easier. That it's make The goal is to stay conscious the more you can, because you won't likely stay conscious. Maybe sometime I do, sometime I daydream and I wake up with eye open. Um, or another goal is to remember what happened when you were asleep, and it's not that hard, but it's like it's something you have to practice like a muscle, and to get better at it. One good thing you can do is write down your dreams. When you do a normal dream, like not a meditation, you wake up in the morning, you remember slightly. What I did is I wrote it on a app, and I noticed that the more I did it, the more I remembered the dreams. So I now I sometimes I stop doing that and I start forgetting my dreams. But write down your dreams, that might help. Um, so often you will have hypnagogic vision when you make the meditation, and it won't have sense. Yeah, you will need to analyze sometime, because you will not be in the same mindset as when you are dreaming. And when you are conscious, you will try to be in that mindset, but your memory might have flushed it out, and it's hard to analyze. But it's not that important. It's not like in the great stories where someone have a vision and it's clear that vision meant this. It's more like, okay, what does it mean? Sometimes it's just like, oh, that thing at the red color, it makes me think about that other thing. Sometimes your conscious analyzing is will lead you to what you were thinking when you were unconscious. Um, that's it. So so when you do this, try to not fall down your chair, or prepare a place where you can be safe. Um, you can try the techniques, maybe not real, not real techniques, but I think it would work. I never managed to make it work, having an object in the end and waiting until you fall asleep and you drop it. I I tried it, but I, I lose focus too easily with an object in my hand. Um, what I do is in the morning I do it um just when my alarm uh, rang. I sleep on my elbows and in an uncomfortable way, so that I don't fall asleep completely. And then uh, I am in a position that I can fall asleep slightly, and because it's I just woke up, it's very way easier to get in the hypnotic hypnagogic state. The problem with this is that I will often fall asleep, but my alarm will keep me awake until I get something. Um, Sometimes often, though, is that I will not get anything at all. I just do the exercise just to be uh, to be adapted to, just so it's easier for me to fall asleep right away, because it's not just having one great idea, it's doing it often, and you can do it. For me, it's just to be able to do it really fast, and not in a dangerous way neither. So next slide. Okay, so I noticed that there are three triggers that, because I was focusing on finding what is the instant when I fall asleep, when I lose consciousness. Because if you try to remember when you fall asleep, you you are not conscious of the transition. And I noticed that when I see texture, then the, often at that moment I fall asleep. Like you see bark, and the the easiest texture to imagine, like a pebble, a unshaved beard, uh, cement, rock in cement, um, this, like semi big, semi like shape that are not too small, but small enough to, because like sand is too small, but I can sometimes visual sense, but it's harder. The second one is when I see uh, an image with perspective in 3D, like an object or a floor that has perspective with lines. Uh, I noticed that it's a trigger. It's a trigger when I lose consciousness. And the third one is sound, but less often. This happens from time to time, especially when I heard people talking, crowd talking all day long, and I still hear the voice when I try to fall asleep, or I hear my name, someone calling my name, just when I transition into sleep. And I put this GIF, so because we can almost hear this Sparta. It's easy to make you imagine it when you will try to do the meditation. If it helps you, it, maybe it won't help at all. Maybe because there are people who are aphantasic, have aphantasia, which is they can imagine shape or pictures. So this is a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. Um, I will move my head away. So just read it. I won't. I'm just don't have the voice right now, and I'm bad at it. Um, so he talks about trying to see shape, faces, object into patterns that you find, like paint patterns on the floor. This helps. He says that it helps having a creative mind. He talks about people. I think, if I remember, people seeing paint from artists, and that seeing the paint will give them creative ideas. And I think he said that doing this exercise of trying to see faces in what we call it, I don't remember the name, but it's later in my slide, like seeing faces or things, it helps to be creative. And that's it, the spot with the hypnagogic state, when you try to fall asleep and you imagine texture. It's a bit it's recall your visual cortex in the back, and it triggers it. Uh, it helps to fall asleep, as you will see if I'm right. But I am probably that you might be able to do it too. So the first step is to reduce arousal. Um, when you start if you want to meditate like right away, you want to try it, and you might see it. You might have a problem with your amount of energy, because to fall asleep you can be energetic, and it's possible to reduce it with the couple of techniques. But this technique that I tried on myself, I created it, and the next one on the next slide, the last one, I read it on this slide. Okay, so my technique is that I imagine a scarf, juggling scarf, the tissue they throw to practice juggling, that floats in the air. I imagine the floating scarf. I imagine my energy, the amount of energy I have, whiteness as a light or something bright in me, and I imagine the scarf falling on my energy and reducing it slowly. And another way that I do it is that I think of people bringing hot sand from beach on the side and pouring it on me, on my energy, and lower. Um, but if you are claustrophobic, just try the scarves. Um, I guess not everyone has an active imagination and can imagine it. Don't imagine the shape, just imagine the situation. Maybe you are the eyes closed and you try to imagine the situation, not the shape exactly. Uh, Especially because we're starting it. Later on, your vision might be more sharp. Um, so I also imagine heavy people bringing heavy blankets on me, on my energy. Sometimes I imagine myself under a desert, large desert at the end, especially. Um, and the self hypnosis method is one that I read. I didn't find the source. It was an old book, a cheap book from in the box from someone in my family, and I think it referred to Mesmer, the famous hypnotist. Maybe it's his technique of auto hypnosis, and it consists of imagining your whole body and sensation on your feet, the skin, the gravity, the sensation of gravity everywhere, and you imagine it leaves your leg and contracts into a center, most likely like where you think your center is, like your heart or your head. I like to think of it like in front of my nose, and I reduce my energy like a little sphere in front of my nose, my like in front of my eyes, and until it's very small. And it takes a couple of minutes reaching that state, and sometimes you need to go back to the step because your energy might grow up because you think about bad things, and you need to go back to the first step and try again to reduce your energy. And that's it. It's sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you are tired enough, especially in the morning. or the night you are tired enough, you don't need it. The second step and third step are interchangeable. To remember them, I call them the quantum uh, train step and the quantum lake. The quantum train, I imagine myself in a train, maybe sometime go entering it, sitting. I imagine the sometime watching out the window, sometime looking at the train as if I were in the front seat and seeing the rails right in front of me and the tunnel uh, moving left and right. And it's not like a crisp image like you see in the GIF. It's more like often since I started meditating and I lowered my energy and I'm starting this step. It's more like seeing big shape, like an X that defines the floor, like the roof. A V shape, it's a roof. Mountain shape, triangle shape is the floor, and the two other shape are the windows. You don't need to the details at that moment. You just need to imagine big shape. And the cars are big shape that are moving, and you can try to find your own triggers that leads you to sleep. But I take the wild guess that this will, if you have a vivid imagination, this will might help you. Um, it stimulates the visual cortex uh, in the way that uh, I say imagine a X, and this X means you are in the train and you are stimulating your visual cortex with an image, but you need to just after that let your visual cortex lead the what it's the shape becomes. You you need to not impose your idea, your shape, but it's a very hard thing because you want to solve a specific problem sometimes. You want to, and you need to think about your specific problem because your vision will not, might most likely not want to focus on what you are thinking about, what you want to solve, but it might. It might. Often I did, at the beginning, I often fell asleep when I was narcoleptic, and it went right away to what I was trying to find out. And often it did it, often, very often. So the third step is more like I call it the quantum lake. The train arrives at the lake. I imagine the train going smaller and smaller, and the decor getting bigger, and then I arrive at the quantum state and in the lake. It's just to remember the step. It's not. It has nothing to do with quantum. Uh, and you see the left is more like what I see at first, but more flu, more not as crisp, but it's I see shape like this at the beginning, and when I fall asleep, it become really crisp, like the more like the picture on the right, and it's repetition. Uh, like I said earlier, there will be a lack of meaning often, and you need to sometimes abandon the idea of trying to find out what it meant. But it's more like if you say this to someone else, what you saw, you might understand it way more than someone else, maybe not. But usually it's like a mindset you are while you are dreaming, trying to not lose the memory of that mindset because it's when you wake up, sometimes often it's like it flushes the memory of your dream, and the more you try it, the less it flush. Need with repetition. So that was it. Um, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, share the video, and press the bell, the notification bell, so that you can have notification when I do lives or when I upload a video. You can ask me questions specifically on my email or in the comment section. So that's it for tonight. Thank you very much.